Hi, I'm Misty Maberry, a certified archivist and librarian in the Dallas History and Archives Division of the Dallas Public Library, and I'm here at White Rock Lake in Dallas, Texas to talk about one of the most prevalent ghost stories in the city, the legend of the Lady of the Lake. I've been doing research in the archives to trace this story, and it has an interesting history with several Dallas twists. There are several variations on the story, but the earliest written version of the story I was able to trace is in a 1943 publication of the Texas Folklore Society, Backwoods to Border, in a tale called The Ghost of White Rock by Anne Clark. The story is that one hot July night, a young couple who were parking by the lake switched on their headlights to see a white figure approaching the car. It was a young woman dressed in a white dress and dripping wet. She tells them a story about being in a boat accident and needing to get home, and the couple agree to give her a ride to an address in Oak Cliff. She climbs in the back seat and they arrive at the address, but when they turn around to look, there is nothing but a wet, empty seat. They knock on the door, and the man who opens it says that his daughter drowned in the lake while sailing 3 weeks ago. In 1982, a person claiming to be the Lady of the Lake wrote to John Anders, a columnist with the Dallas Morning News. She describes an evening in the spring of 1940 in which she and her fiancé, a SMU star athlete who was also very pro-Adolf Hitler, parked at the lake to look at the full moon. They got into an argument about their wedding date. Her family was from Poland and very anti-Hitler, and during the course of the argument, her fiancé complained about her Polish origins and said that he thought Poland was getting what it deserved from Hitler's Germany. They were sitting in a 1939 DeSoto on the top of a rise near Lawther Road, and as the argument got heated, he accidentally kicked the brake, and the car rolled downhill into the water. They both jumped out as the car sank, but when he went for help, she ditched him and walked to Garland Road to hitch a ride home. A couple picked her up, and as she requested to be dropped off at her home on Gaston Avenue, but when they stopped at a light by the spillway, she saw her fiancé and decided to hop out of the car to rejoin him, all of which tallies with the main points of the ghost story. It's a classic ghostly hitchhiker tale, but with several variations, some of which are very Dallas, like the added detail in Frank Tolbert's 1953 version that the lady had on a very fine dress, and that it was obviously high quality and that she, quote, certainly got it at the store. The store was referring to Neiman Marcus, which is a luxury department store which was founded in Dallas in 1907. In this version of the story, the address given by the lady was on Gaston Avenue, which some people have suggested may tie into a real drowning that occurred in 1927. 19-year-old Hallie Gaston, daughter of Jacob Gibson and Lillis King Gaston, was in a boat that sank on a portion of the lake near Big Thicket one afternoon around 3 p.m. 4 other people in the boat survived the accident, but her body was recovered in the early hours of the morning. There have actually been many drownings at White Rock Lake over the years, so it's hard to pinpoint whether the ghost story is rooted in a real tragedy on the lake or if it is a local version of the hitchhiking ghost urban legend. In 1982, John H. Williams Sr., who ran a party barge on White Rock from 1930 to 1957, recorded some memories of the lake for the Dallas Public Library, including his theories on the Lady of the Lake. One was that there used to be a bootleg stand on the north end of the lake, and he said people used to, quote, get all gassed up and they would get to imagining they saw all kinds of things. His other theory was that there were 2 corners where a lot of automobiles would run off the road into the lake, and that quite often some girl shouldn't have been in that car, so she'd get out of there wet and catch her a ride home. He was quite a local character, and he ended the story with, I didn't see a lady of the lake, but we saw a lot of ladies of the lake. You understand? One of the most surprising stories was 1,000 teenagers converging on White Rock Lake in response to a call put out by local radio personality Chuck Boyles for a midnight ghost hunt. So many teenagers descended on the area that the riot police were deployed. This happened in 1967, and according to the Dallas Times-Herald, there were upwards of 1,000 people at the lake around West Lawther Drive and Cox Cemetery, which is next to the lake and in some of the story retellings supposed to be the final resting place of the lady. Boyles told his listeners that he would join them at the lake and claimed in a later broadcast that he had been in the crowd incognito because, quote, to have presented myself before the adoring crowd would certainly have caused a full-scale riot. The crowds heckled the police and threw coins at them, and 2 people were arrested for throwing firecrackers. All told, 47 police officers were deployed to disperse the crowd, and they were not able to clear the area until 2:30 in the morning. Whatever the truth is, the legend of the ghostly lady haunting White Rock Lake certainly lives on.